Good morning, everyone. Welcome to CW Live, an impromptu session. You probably weren't expecting to see me, probably definitely weren't expecting to see the General Secretary this morning. We know most of you would be going about your daily jobs and be busy working, but for those of you who aren't, thank you for joining us live, and I can see lots of you piling in, which is already always great for us to see. For those who are watching perhaps a little bit later on after your duties, welcome to you as well on catch up, as it were. So reason for coming on now, we know we've got tons of stuff going on in the workplace and in all of our areas of the union. But tonight at 7:30, there's a big rally. The Trade Union Congress is called. CW have been at the forefront, as you know, of pushing for the New Deal for workers across the UK, and it's vital that we want as many CW members as possible to turn up at the rally tonight. We already have a lot of people coming, so thank you for those who have registered, but we want more. So Dave's going to talk about, and I'm going to ask him a little bit about what the rally's about, but also we're going to share the link and ask you to, join us in and get as many people registered as possible. So there's already 500 of you online, which is fantastic for 11:30 on a random Tuesday morning. So let us know where you're watching from. We'll put the best of them up on screen. Let us know how long you've been a member of the union. But for now, I'm going to hand over to Dave, who's going to talk a little bit about what tonight is actually going to be about and why you should tune in and why it'll be interesting for you to do so. So over to you, Dave.
Yeah, thanks, Chris, and morning to everybody. Thanks for joining us live, impromptu session to really promote the event tonight. It's the Eve of Budget rally that the TUC is calling. So you'll be joining us with workers from across all trade unions across the country. And what it's about is calling for really the government to make a new deal for working people a priority in their post-pandemic plans to build a recovery in the economy. And, this is something that, as Chris said, the CWU have been leading the call for, if you like, collective campaigning. We're always going to prioritise our own members' jobs, terms and conditions. We always do. But it's time for us to also take a wider view of what being in a trade union is really about. And we've been leading this campaign to shift the balance of forces in the world of work, calling for the New Deal. And tonight, the TUC are on board for this. It's about a distinct trade union agenda. And it's about setting out what our demands are for working people on the eve of the budget. Not necessarily going to change the Chancellor's decisions tomorrow, but what we are going to see tonight is a coming together of trade unions, a coming together of workers, and we all face the same challenges. There's been a tremendous shift over about 30 or 40 years away from workers towards employers in terms of the power in the workplace, and we've got to rebalance that power. So talking about supporting wage rises for key workers, talking about investment in the infrastructure can support our own members as well. So we'll be talking about broadband, the need for the government to fast track investment in broadband, helps our own members in our campaign. Talking about changing the whole world of work. Jobs have become far too reliant on agency work, outsourcing, franchising, jobs without proper contracts of employment, jobs with no sick pay, no holiday pay, no proper pensions. These are issues that all workers face, and we have to be part of that wider campaign. So I'm really looking forward to tonight, hoping that you'll join us. I think we're right in saying from the registration already, we've got over 1,000 people have registered from the CW. So we want to build on that during the course of the day.
Thank you, Dave. I mean, obviously, won't keep you long because it's a bit of a rally call, really, to get as many CW members, reps, and branches on to tonight's session as possible. But a couple of questions. So the first one would be, obviously, there may be members watching, and there will be members watching, I'm sure, who, in Royal Mail Group, for example, we've just got a new national agreement that's being rolled out. That's a big body of work. In BT Group, an Openreach, we've got a massive dispute with the company. Looks like it's heading, for all lines, looks like it's heading for an industrial action ballot. People thinking, like, is this really the priority how does this fit into, how do we reconnect that to what's happening in the workplace? What would you say to those members, reps?
Yeah, look, let me be clear. The priority for the CWU will always be protecting and enhancing, the jobs, terms, pay, conditions of our existing members. All unions should prioritise that work. But you can't be successful in doing that work if you don't also come together and build power within the trade union movement. And this is the direction that the CW has been taking. So we've gained a reputation within the movement for being probably the best trade union now at engaging with our members. And you're seeing that in some of the recent campaigns that we've undertaken. We've also gained a reputation for being strong on solidarity with other trade unions and other workers who are in struggle. And it's only when you combine those two things that you really are in the best place, one, to protect your own members' jobs, terms and conditions, and secondly, to build a real sort of better world of work, frankly, to make changes to the world of work. And one of the things I would say to our members is that you can't win on your own in some of these situations. You have to do both things. You have to be strong with your own members, supporting each other within our union, but you also have to have policies that tackle the forces that stand in our way. And there's a truth to that. It's not about, for me, ramming politics down people's throats. The CW doesn't do that. We root our politics in what's happening in the workplace and in our own members' industries, and we build on that. So, my strong view is that unions need to get stronger across the whole of the country. And the CWU has definitely played a leading role in calling for unions to harness their collective strength. And tonight is an opportunity for us to do that.
On that note, Dave, you make the point really effectively there about solidarity that we've shown. So, if I think back to last year, postal workers showing, physical solidarity on picket lines for UCU members at universities. Latterly, we've been really high profile online supporting the National Education Union and teachers, and most recently, of course, raising money for the British Gas Workers Strike Fund. I mean, obviously, as a union, we want to do those things. We'll continue to do those things, but there is a sort of a method in that approach as well, because our members, like for example, in BT Group, they're going to need that solidarity coming back from the trade union movement in the coming weeks and months, aren't they?
Well, that's exactly the method that we need to deploy, is because all workers need solidarity. I repeat the point, Chris. Ultimately, you can't win on your own. And there's been a tremendous shift against working people before this pandemic over 30 or 40 years. And our job as trade unions is to do something about that. And therefore, you have to tackle the reality that, why are companies so obsessed with having agency workers, outsourcing cleaners, and all the things that lead to worse terms and conditions for workers. You can't build back a strong economy based on that type of world of work. And therefore, the wider that we can see our job as trade unionists and our job of supporting our own members and our own members taking part in that process, the better we're going to be, for everybody. And I do believe that we are seeing the start of a rebirth of collectivism in this country. And we want the CWU to be at the forefront of that.
Dave, just a final question before I give you a chance to sum up, is one of the points you made in the note to the branches and the members is that, the strategy for the New Deal for workers and where the trade union movement needs to be right now isn't necessarily wed to whatever the Labour Party is up to. Now, we've got Annalise Dodds, who's a Shadow Chancellor, and obviously an excellent Shadow Chancellor, who's going to be speaking at the rally tonight. But, this campaign, your message throughout this has been very much that the trade union movement needs to mobilise, the trade union movement needs to lead it and do something about it. And I think you used the phrase distinctive from the Labour movement. What would your message be to members who'd be thinking, is this another political campaign? Is this in a political rally tonight? What would your message be to members who are thinking that?
Well, this is definitely about the trade union movement coming together. I do see the irony. We sent out the email, and I had a few emails back saying, well, you're saying that, but Annalise Dodds is one of the key speakers. So, good that our members pointed that out. Look, I mean, we're not against Labour. Annalise Dodds is a very good shadow chancellor, and I'm sure she'll be worth listening to. But I've had a long-term belief that you don't wait for political parties to bring about change. The role of the trade union movement is to make change happen. For me, in politics, there's too many people who do politics and change in their head, in theory. The unique role that trade unions have is that we can actually make change happen on the ground by mobilising workers. And all of our campaigns should be aimed at doing that, and deepening the understanding of how these things are really important. And the CWU, as I said earlier on, has gained a reputation in the movement now. So, we're also about building workers' power, giving a greater voice for workers in the workplace. This is something that I think some trade unions have forgotten to do. And tonight is about, all of us learning from each other. I think it'll be a really good event because I think you're going to also, what's important for me, is that there'll be some frontline workers speaking. So it's not all like general secretaries of trade unions. We'll have one of our own frontline workers, Luke Elgar, who's on our National Executive Committee and is working through the pandemic. He'll be talking about his experiences. And to hear the experiences of frontline workers is what builds solidarity, is what builds an understanding of what we have to do collectively. So I'm not having a go at Labour. There's enough people doing that at the moment. But I am very firmly of the view that the trade union movement needs to find its own way forward when it comes to issues like the world of work, when it comes to issues about how you rebuild from this pandemic. We're entitled and we should have a distinctive trade union agenda for that.
Thanks, Dave. I mean, Dave touched on their different groups of speakers. We obviously have got, Dave is our General Secretary and some other General Secretaries from other great unions in the UK. We've got frontline workers, as Dave touched on there. And also, very excitingly, we've got strikers from Amazon in Alabama, USA. So I really think that's going to be worth tuning into, taking on one of the most vicious anti-trade union companies in the world and looking like they're going to claim a massive victory. So worth coming, for that alone, I think. So final message from you, Dave, for the last minute or so, really, to get across before we close up the session.
Yeah, just hoping that as many of you as possible join us tonight and spread the word amongst your friends and colleagues in the workplace. This is a moment where we want to see trade unions coming together. So events like tonight start that process. Don't see tonight as the end of that process or just purely focused on the fact that there's going to be a big budget announcement tomorrow from the government. It's about building solidarity of workers. It's about building workers' power. It's about rebuilding the trade union movement. And all of these issues are crucial to our own members' jobs, terms and conditions. So I hope you join us tonight. I think it's going to be a good rally. And I think it's going to be the start of us seriously moving forward the campaign for a new deal for working people in this country. So thanks very much.
Thanks, Dave. And thanks to all of you. I think 900 or so of you have joined us live. That's fantastic. Thanks to all of you who will watch it a bit later on Catch Up. The link is in the title. The link is in the comments. We hope to see as many of you as possible tonight. See you later, everyone.
Cheers.